Chapter 211. News. Let's go to. Kang Chon retracted his gaze and said indifferently, he didn't go after those 5 turtles. The most important thing right now was to look for the dragon blood fruit to enhance the strength of his flesh body. Perhaps it would allow him to advance to the Emperor level. At that time, even if he didn't need to perform the strongest combat state of Kang Chon hegemony, blood, he would still be able to defeat those 5 turtles. Fan Xin and Little Gold nodded, and the 2 of them, a monkey, immediately ran towards the distance. Although the 10 times gravity was very heavy, Kang Chon, Brahma Heart, and Little Gold were not idle. Their running speed was still incomparably fast, and they disappeared in front of the crowd in the blink of an eye. The battlefield of the City of Man was very large, and once these trialists entered it, they were like rainwater dripping into the sea, making it difficult for them to encounter each other. Kang Chon wandered around the battlefield with Brahma Xin and Xiaojin, looking around for the dragon blood fruit. However, there was no news for more than 10 days in a row. The battlefield was too big, and there weren't many dragon blood fruits. Who knew where they were distributed? It was really hard to meet them. Kang Chon could only rely on luck as well. Dao brother, this place is really too big. Let's split up, so that we have a better chance of finding the dragon blood fruit. A month later, Fan Xin bid farewell to Kang Chon. They hadn't found a single dragon blood fruit in so many days. Even he was getting a little anxious. Take care. Kang Chon nodded and didn't stay, because dragon blood fruit was very rare. Even if he found it, he didn't know how to distribute it. It would be better for everyone to split up. Perhaps Brahma Heart had such concerns, which was why he proposed to search separately. Brother Dao, I'll see you in the City of Earth. Amitabha Buddha. Brahma Heart clasped his hands together and transformed into a Buddha light, disappearing into the sky. Kang Chon watched him leave, and then continued to wander with Little Gold, not knowing where the dragon blood fruit was anyway. He just found a random direction and hurried forward, completely relying on luck. 3 months later, Kang Chon and Little Gold arrived next to a small mountain, and not far ahead of them, a long river blocked their way. Brother, a fire dragon rushed out from the middle of the small river in front of us. Suddenly, Little Gold exclaimed. Kang Chon turned his head to look and was instantly shocked, which was a fire dragon. It was clearly a vision derived from the dragon chi above a spirit fruit that had risen up to the sky. At this time, Little Gold also realized that he had misread the situation. One person and one monkey glanced at each other, and then exclaimed at the same time, "It's the dragon blood fruit." Before the words fell, the one person and one monkey rushed at lightning speed towards the long river in front of them, on which a fiery red spirit tree was situated, emitting a thick spiritual chi. The spirit tree was fiery red, like a blazing flame that was burning, and in the middle of the flourishing branches and leaves, a blazing fireball was burning, emitting hot waves of fire. In midair, the thick dragon chi transformed into a true dragon, hissing up to the sky. Brother, I'll go fetch the fruit. Xiaojin rushed towards the spirit tree in the river after saying that, reaching out and grabbing towards the sizzling flames. Be careful, Kang Chon reminded. His eyes flickered with essence as he cautiously scanned the surroundings, his intuition telling him that the dragon blood fruit was not something that could be fetched so easily. Clattering, in the middle of the small river, the water was rushing and the rapids were turbulent. The spirit tree towered over, and in the center, looming like a lone peak. Boom! Just as Little Gold was about to grab that dragon blood fruit, a torrent of water surged out from the river, and that huge body, like a small mountain, exuded a heavy sense of oppression. Be careful, Kang Chon instantly shouted, alerting Little Jin while he rushed towards the river. Roar! The ferocious beast roared, shaking the sky and the earth. It was a crocodile clad in black armor, its entire body shrouded in snowy scale armor. and its huge tail resembled a wolf's bane, covered in densely packed spikes. At this moment, its two ice-cold eyes were staring at Xiaojin, a ferocious killing intent flickering in its pitch-black eyes. Seek death. With Kang Qian's reminder, Little Gold immediately reacted, and with a flip, he killed towards the crocodile murderer, his face filled with hideousness. Rumble. In the next moment, a fierce battle erupted as the two huge demonic beasts breathed to kill each other. Kang Qian also came to the riverside at this time, watching the battle between Xiaojin and that crocodile murderer. Judging from the strength of their battle, the crocodile murderer was very powerful and also had a king-level flesh body. Only Little Gold's berserk strength was even stronger, occupying the absolute upper hand. Seeing this scene, Kang Qian was instantly relieved as he leapt high into the air and rushed towards that spirit tree, wanting to obtain the dragon blood fruit first. Roar. Not far away, the crocodile ferocious beast that was fighting with Little Gold saw this scene and instantly roared in rage. However, it was unable to charge out of Little Gold's block and could only roar in unwillingness. What a marvelous dragon blood fruit! Kang Qian grabbed the dragon blood fruit and rolled over to jump back to the shore. He looked curiously and saw a blazing fire burning in his hand, emitting a true dragon's aura. Ow! A dragon roared, and above Kang Qian's arm, a fire dragon was encircled and was gulping down scorching flames. Kang Qian's physical body was already close to the emperor level, but he couldn't help but feel some pain even when burned by this flame. Boom! At this moment, a huge figure fell down, blood and flesh pouring out. Kang Qian looked over, and it was that crocodile ferocious beast that had been decapitated by Xiaojin. Swish! Little Gold's figure returned to its original form and landed beside Kang Qian, his face full of smugness. Brother, this guy is too unbearable. Little Gold walked over and curiously surveyed the fireball in Kang Qian's hand, asking, "Is this the dragon blood fruit? Can this thing be eaten?" How to look at this dragon blood fruit seemed like a ball of flame. Wouldn't eating it burn all the organs and bowels? Little Gold thought in his heart. Right, this is the dragon blood fruit. You help me protect my magic. I'll try to see if this thing works, Kang Qian said to Xiaojin, and then opened up a cave on the huge mountain next to him, where he would take the dragon blood fruit. Little Gold, on the other hand, stayed outside the cave and guarded Kang Qian. The blood dragon fruit exuded a scorching wave of fire, and after it entered his throat, Kang Qian immediately felt a flame rise in his heart, and immediately after, he felt his entire body was dyed, and his skin became incomparably red, like a fiery flame burning below. This intense pain made Kang Qian couldn't help but groan out. He gritted his teeth and growled lowly. Sweat left his forehead in a clatter, and his eyes were filled with a sizzling light. Taking the dragon blood fruit was surprisingly so difficult. Kang Qian had not expected it. At this moment, he felt extremely uncomfortable, like as if he was being barbecued by a blazing fire. The entire person was like going into a furnace. He did not know how long had passed. Kang Qian only knew that his patience had reached its limit. His flesh became reddish and his skin was boiling hot. At this time, Kang Qian clearly felt that his 9-turn Zhuanggong was automatically running, and it was getting faster and faster. All of a sudden, a big cycle had passed. He was extremely shocked that this dragon blood fruit was actually useful for the 9 revolutions, Zhuanggong. And at that moment, he desperately ran the 9 revolutions Zhuanggong. With the help of the dragon's blood fruit, Kang Qian's 9 revolutions, Zhuanggong was rapidly progressing again. And in no time at all, it entered the middle of the second layer from the early stage of the second layer, and it continued to improve. In the end, when Kang Qian's physical body regained its original state, his 9 revolutions, Zhuanggong had already entered the late stage of the second layer. Roar! Kang Qian wrenched open his eyes. his eyes blazing with light. He couldn't help but let out a long roar. It was just a painful. He felt that his entire body was filled with strength. Brother, the little gold outside, who was protecting him, heard the loud noise in the cave and hurriedly ran in and asked, "Brother, how is it? Did that thing work?" Kangtian nodded and said with a smile, "It works very well. My 9 turns Zhuanggong has entered the late stage of the second layer. If I have another dragon blood fruit, I will be able to break through to the 3rd layer." "So powerful," Little Gold exclaimed in shock. One must know that Kangtian had previously spent 5 years to cultivate the 2nd layer of the 9 turns Zhuanggong, and now taking just 1 dragon blood fruit had allowed him to enter the late 2nd layer. If Kangtian were to cultivate on his own, even with the help of that dragon blood pill that Emperor Dan had refined, it would take at least 2 to 3 years for him to progress this much. This dragon blood fruit was worthy of being an immortal fruit condensed from the blood of a true dragon. Its utility for enhancing the physical body was simply too strong. Kangtian's heart was instantly filled with yearning. As long as there were enough dragon blood fruits, it would definitely not take him more than a few years to advance to the 4th level of the 9 revolutions Zhuanggong. Let's go. Let's continue to look for the dragon blood fruit. I feel that as long as I break through the 3rd layer of the 9 revolutions Zhuanggong, my fleshly body will be able to reach the imperial grade. Kangtian stood up and said, patting the dust and ashes on his body. Good. Let's go find the dragon blood fruit now. By the way, brother, you'd better put on some clothes. It's not good to be so exposed. Little Gold laughed. Kangtian was dumbfounded at his words. He looked at his naked body, and suddenly his old face blushed. When he took the dragon blood fruit just now, his whole body's clothes had already been burnt out by the hot flames. So at this moment, there was not a single piece of clothing on his body to cover his shame. Stinky brat. Kangtian couldn't help but curse with a laugh. Then he took out a purple robe from his spatial ring and put it on. He had been using the spatial ring during this period of time. This was because within the spirit sealing space, the reverse heavenly cauldron seemed to have been imprisoned. Not only was it unable to be used, but it was also unable to contact the Dan Emperor inside. I wonder if it was related to the inability to move the aura within the spirit sealing space. Kangtian had a trace of doubt in his heart. The battlefield in the City of People was very vast, but as it got closer and closer to the City of Earth, the scope of the battlefield began to gradually shrink, and by the time a year had passed, there were already quite a number of trialists who had met and broken out into fierce clashes. As Kangtian traveled along, he also began to encounter some of the trialists, but as soon as those trialists saw that it was him, they hurriedly fled far away, fearing that they would be killed by him. After all, back in the City of Man, Kangtian had displayed his divine might in a big way, making many trial refiners see it for all to see. As these trialists met, battles inevitably took place, and some trialists became famous in one battle, making their names known throughout the battlefield. Some of the trialists, however, bled on the battlefield and fell in disgrace. This was a cruel battlefield, where the strong were honored, and the weak could only look up to the strong sadly. Gradually, some strong people dominated the battlefield and were honored as kings and emperors. Among them, 5 tortoises were seen sweeping through from the south, dominating the battlefield and being invincible, and they were eventually called the 5 kings of Zhuanwu by the many trialists. In addition, there was a Buddhist disciple who transformed into an 8-armed Vajra and shook the western battlefield and was honored as the king of Vajra. There was another flying divine fox who was lucky enough to obtain a dragon blood fruit and was the first to be promoted to the emperor level, invincible in the entire eastern battlefield, and the rest of the trialists did not fail to pay homage to him and honored him as the fox emperor. In the north, there was a purple-robed youth with a small golden monkey, and everyone who saw it retreated in fear, respectfully calling it the Overlord. Although there were quite a few powerful trialists in the entire battlefield, but in terms of strength, they were inferior to the several human masters above. Their light was obscured, and they could only walk behind these kings and emperors. Hey, have you heard? Huge dragon blood fruit trees have appeared in the western battlefield, and rumor has it that there are 3 unripe dragon blood fruits. Oh, is that so? You would tell me about such a good thing. The king of Vajra is sitting there. No one dares to commit an offense. Let's find more people to join forces. I don't believe he can defeat 10,000 with one. Good, let's split up and contact the others. High above the mountain, the 2 huge demonic beasts exchanged words with each other and finally split up to leave.